Hi guys, so this is going to be the first German lesson, and I'm not actually going to teach you like words in German. I'm just going to teach you a little bit about the culture because I feel like that's important to understand before you undertake learning the language, because attitude is really everything with learning the language. And a lot of times when people talk about the German language, they talk about what they've seen in movies, which they're like, it's harsh, it sounds harsh, and all of this. But it's important to understand that most German depictions in American movies are highlighting the worst time in their country's history, which was the time of Hitler and the Holocaust and unspeakable darkness in that nation. And that is the part of their history that gets replayed in media, in movies, everywhere. And so frequently when the German language is being spoken, it's being spoken harshly because the people who are speaking it, they're characters who are in the military. But when you're in the military, people yell. They have to, bullets, war fire, things like that. So there's some wind. But when you're in the military, that's how you have to speak. But that's not necessarily how everybody speaks the German language. Just like English, there are several different dialects of the language, several different ways to speak it, several different ways of understanding the culture in the country. And so this first lesson isn't really going to be words, because that's not really what's most important in understanding German. What's most important, I think, in understanding German is knowing that it is where English came from. German was a language before English was a language, and American English is really just slang, because our English is not the proper English. The proper English is how British people speak. That's the real English. Our language is a mishmash of several different languages, and our phrases and words that we use are from several different cultures. American melting pot is really visible in the language. More wind. I just don't want to record while the wind is happening because I want to make sure that you guys can understand what I'm saying. But so an important distinction between German and English is the part of the mouth that it's spoken in. English is spoken mainly in the front of the mouth. Like everything that I'm saying, if you look at my mouth, I can make all of these sounds with from this part of my mouth forward. So I can speak with very little vocal power. I could say something like this, or I could say something like this, and that doesn't really affect the enunciation because the enunciation is happening at the front of the mouth. Now, German is a very throat language. It comes from the back of the throat. So in order to speak it properly, you have to speak up. You have to project your voice. So a lot of these sounds, they're not really easy to make when you're speaking quietly. So in order to practice German, I would say, get somewhere where you're not embarrassed to speak out loud. But yeah, you have to speak loudly in order to do it, or at least loud enough to hear yourself and correct yourself if you're teaching yourself at home. So the things that I wish people had taught me first were the cuss words, because those are the words that you don't want to say. Most of the time, those are the words that the kids learn first, because they're like, I want to learn how to cuss somebody out first. I think that's really important to learn, because there are a lot of words, just like in English, that sound very similar to the cuss words in German, like in German, Nachttischlampe. That's like lamp for your nightstand. Schlampe is the word for bitch. So if you say Nachttisch Schlampe, that's something else, as opposed to Nachttischlampe, one word. So you want to make sure that you're learning to pronounce the words correctly, because they can sound like different things very easily. Just like in English, you can say something and it's not quite what you think you're saying. And then that's where the confusion comes in, because it's taken as disrespect when you do not learn a language properly, or at least in German, it's disrespectful to not speak the language properly. And also it just makes things more difficult for you because there is a language barrier for as long as you let there be. But yeah, so this first lesson is really just going to be a vocal warm-up. What you're going to do is you're going to put your hand on your stomach. I know you can't see my stomach, but you're going to put your hand on your stomach. That's where you should feel it when you're coming from your diaphragm. You're going to go, ah, 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 and push and really yell, because that's going to warm up your vocal cords, and it's also going to get your vocal cords just ready to start pushing in a different direction. Also, you're going to loosen up your lips. Do that kind of thing. Do like all that. Loosen up your whole mouth, because the sounds that you're going to start making are not American sounds. So your mouth is going to resist. Your mouth is going to resist because it's going to be like, this is not how I say this. That's not how we do this. But if you loosen up your mouth, get your diaphragm ready, then you can properly speak the language.